It is my pleasure to convey our appreciation to legendary Husky wrestler Grant Nelson and his wife Carol Nelson for their leadership gift to complete the newly renovated Strength and Conditioning Center. We are grateful to the 1963 SCSU graduate Grant and Carol, a Swedish Hospital School of Nursing graduate, for their tremendous friendship with St. Cloud State and Huskies athletics and their unwavering support through the years. This latest generous gift will benefit student athletes and other students for generations. Grant's storied wrestling career at St. Cloud State began the year he arrived on campus in 1959 and continued as he racked up conference titles and records while earning his degree in business administration. He truly was the epitome of the student-athlete model so prevalent at St. Cloud State, and he remains an exemplary role model. He was such an outstanding wrestler for St. Cloud State in the early 1960s that by the time he finished competing for the Huskies, he held school records for the best dual record in a season, 10-0, longest dual streak of 16 matches, longest undefeated dual streak of 22 matches, most tournament championships in a season with 3, and most conference championships with 2. We have honored Grant with induction into SCSU Athletics Hall of Fame in 2007 and with the 2012-13 Distinguished Alumni Award. Grant and Carol have reconnected with SCSU over the years, generously supporting SCSU and its athletic programs and re-engaging with the university's top-notch wrestling program. We are grateful to Grant for the mark he left on Huskies athletics, both as a wrestler and as an outstanding ambassador for the wrestling program. And we are especially thankful to Grant and Carol for their unending support for SCSU athletics through gifts that have enhanced facilities and recruiting. We are fortunate to have the Nelsons' personal involvement in the development and training of our student athletes and their enthusiastic advocacy for the university and its athletics programs. Thank you for all you do for St. Cloud State. I am proud to help dedicate the Grant and Carol Nelson Strength and Conditioning Center.
Grant, you and Carol have been such great supporters to St. Cloud State University over the years. Can you share your inspiration and your continued motivation to give to St. Cloud State?
Well, I'm an alum, and it's been over 60 years since I just came onto campus, and I could have gone anywhere, other places. I tried to go to the University of Minnesota. They didn't care to have me. And I ended up here, and it was a wonderful experience. But you know, you go to a college and you have, you create ties, you create loyalties.
So speaking of 60 years plus, you were a student athlete, you were a wrestler, you were a national champion in 1962. Talk about the impact that wrestling has had on your life. What was it about the student athlete experience specifically that you think lent to your success and lends to the success of our current students, whether it's academic, whether it's personal, whether it's career related?
Well, I think sports provides the extra component tied with academic excellence that really turns athletes into leaders. Main thing that differentiates wrestling and then from to a degree other sports, but is that it instills confidence and the ability to address challenges, difficult challenges. There's an opponent over there, Sometimes it's a very formidable opponent. Sometimes you'd rather be somewhere else. But this is what you had committed to do, and you go out and you engage in competition.
Talk a little bit, I want you to expand on that just a little bit. Obviously, you were very successful in business as well. What sorts of lessons, I mean, how did you take that directly? Because you talked about the confidence, you talked about doubling down on the work. What did that mean for you as you navigated your career?
I was a hard worker. And in fact, when I retired, that's what the CEO said of me, is that I was the hardest working employee he had. But it also played out in making one of the hardest decisions I had, and that was to recommend the sale of the company I worked for. It was not a decision that I wanted to make. I was convinced it was the right decision, but I also knew that there was a lot of hard consequences. But we went forward, and it turned out well.
Carol, you've been an avid, passionate Husky supporter for decades. Grant talked about the ties that he developed through his experience. Talk about the ties that you've developed, the people you've met along the way as part of the Huskies family.
Well, it starts way back in the 1960s at Anoka High School. That's when I started to follow wrestling. 3 of my brothers were on the team in the 60s. And in fact, that's where I met Grant. He was a referee at one of the matches between Anoka and Coon Rapids. And also I had 3 siblings, and they all actually went to St. Cloud State, graduated from St. Cloud State. And one of my brother Ron Hunt wrestled for the Huskies. After he came back from Vietnam for his tour duty in Vietnam, he wrestled. So that's when it started. And then the other thing is that the friends that Grant made in wrestling, his 3 best friends on the team were Gary Smith and Kenny Ebert and Rich Peterson. Those 3 men and their wives, and then also Steve and Nancy Costanzo, have become very, very dear friends.
I love the stories of connection, because in a world that is supposedly more connected by media and social media particularly, and where we're so much more globalized than we've ever been, I think it still comes back to these shared common experiences that are so much smaller. And so that goes a little bit to my next question, which is you, Carol and Grant, made a transformational gift to the Hallenbeck Strength and Conditioning Center, which is a beautiful renovation, not quite done, but a beautiful renovation of a space. With construction nearing completion, what did the gift mean to you in terms of thinking our current student athletes, our coaches, our department, future prospects that will eventually come to St. Cloud State? And really, what do you think it means to the reputation of the university?
The coaches have recognized the importance of the new Strength and Conditioning Center. It's a project that I think is timely, and I'm hopeful that it will create a great deal of encouragement to the athletic department. St. Cloud's gone through some tough years. I'm hoping that this is one good step to turn that around some and get us back on the path of moving forward.
I want to thank you personally, because I think that response captures my experience, and I have come to love this university and this community, not only for myself, but for my family as well. As I look at this project, and as the coaches have come together and the student athletes began to see the visuals of it on posters more than anything initially, I think we began to dream again. And I think for this department, that's critically important. And as the graphics go in, Part of it is also building pride. This is a program, a department with a storied history, and we don't tell that always very well. And I'm hoping that this space for our alumni tells the story, for our prospects shows them what can be, for our current students makes them better. And so for me, it's really a project that, different than many, transcends generations to be able to give back. So from my heart and from our department's heart, we are so thankful for this. Let me change that to ask, what advice would you give other alumni? You talked about your really strong involvement for the last 20 years. Why is it important as an alum, as a former student athlete, as a national champion, to give back, to support not only projects like this, but really general operations of the athletics department and all of our programs?
Because it's needed. And if you don't do it, who's going to do it? We are in a different paradigm today. Those are not empty words. I mean, I was wonderfully pleased with the broad support that came in on the general campaign for this facility. But going forward, if athletics are going to thrive and survive, it's going to require more and more participation from those who have gone before. And that means giving where you can, but there's other ways too, and that's simply to get involved with the events of the programs. Go to the events. Go to the fundraising gatherings. Be part of the community, part of the family that each sport has, and by doing that, you send a message to the athletes, and you set an example for the athletes. So when they move on, they will have this example of what role should the alumni play.
One, it's fun for me as athletics director to watch you and Carol when you're at the events, because you know the kids.
Yeah.
You know their backgrounds. You're kind of a nerd, let's be honest, about the stats. You know where they came from, where they're going, you know what the other team's doing. But that connection, I think, is really, really just special, not for our students, but also for you. I think the other thing you talked to, and I worked at private schools previously, this trend and this belief in giving back. And I know when we pushed you a little bit about the name of the center, which is the Grant and Carol Nelson Strength and Conditioning Center, there was hesitation there because you are a humble person, one who doesn't want your name everywhere. But your willingness to go forward, because I think that's part of the storytelling. So when we meet with our students, when prospects are coming in, when we can say, and this is the Grant and Carol Nelson Strength and Conditioning Center, Grant was a national champion for us in the 60s. He continued to be involved. He came. It gives real life to people who have been part of our program. And I think that that's really what we're trying to do with all of our programs, with so many of our alumni, is to say, let's put a face and a name. Let's talk about why this experience mattered to you. And yes, there has to be a financial component going forward because that's the reality of our world. But let's do it in a way that creates family, that creates connection, and does tell the story for the next generation who comes. So my last question, you've been philanthropic in lots of ways throughout your life. Why? What does philanthropy do for you?
Well, there's a spiritual component to that, and we're cognizant of that, and we try to operate accordingly. To give is rewarding, and there's just great satisfaction in giving to a need, a cause that is worthy, and to see it being used in the way it was intended and to create success.
Thank you. Thank you on behalf of our department, our coaches who lead the way, our student athletes who give their heart and soul. We believe this is going to make a difference. We think it's a game changer. We couldn't have done it without both of you, but mostly just thank you. Thank you for being a part of the program, and thank you for believing that we can be better and that what we do matters, because I think it does for this generation and for generations to come.
We're happy to be part of it.
Hi, Grant and Carol. I just wanted to thank you for your leadership in helping make the Hallenbeck Strength and Conditioning Center a reality, and also for your confidence in St. Cloud State. Your generosity has been an inspiration to others, and we hope that the culture will change as a consequence of what you've done. Thank you so much.
My name is Ilya Tertishnik. I'm on the SCSU basketball team. I want to say thank you to Grant and Carol for the upgrade of our weight room. I can't wait to work there and improve myself on and off the court.
Thank you, Grant and Carol, for believing in the value of college athletics, for improving the student-athlete experience, and for leading the way.
I'm Lindsay Rachel from the SCSU volleyball team, and we want to thank Grant and Carol Nelson for their generous donation.
Grant and Carol Nelson, thank you so much. Your gift did make a difference, and we can't wait to get in there in November and get to work.
Hi, Grant and Carol. This is Shannon Ahern, fifth-year senior on the baseball team. I'd like to thank you on behalf of the team for your contribution to the new weight room.
We're so excited for this facility. The first time our guys go into the weight room will be in this kind of world-class facility, and we're so appreciative. Thanks to Grant and Carol Nelson for really helping to make this happen.
I've had the pleasure of knowing Grant and Carol Nelson over the last 15 years. Not just myself, but my family, my wife Nancy, and my kids. We're so grateful for everything that Grant and Carol have done for our wrestling program, of course our university and our athletic department here. Many of our coaches here are overwhelmed, including myself, by the support. They're very special people to me and my family and my wrestlers. I've often said that there's no way that our wrestling program or our athletic department would be in the shape that we're in today without Grant and Carol Nelson. I'd like to thank them for everything that they've done. They mean the world to me, this university, and this athletic program.